Magandang gabi Filipinas. Welcome to Japanese Shoe Channel. Today I'm going to react to Travel Philippines vs Thailand. Best travel destination. This is really interesting. Philippines are well known for tourism and also Thailand. So I'm going to watch and react to this. Before watching the video, please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to push the notification bell to not to miss my future videos. If you like the video, please share it to your friends and family members. Thank you very much. Salamat po. Okay, let's go.
Thailand or the Philippines? That has been the question I've been asking myself when planning my tropical adventure in Southeast
Actually,
Asia.
I never been to Thailand.
And we all know both places have beautiful beaches and overall a lot to see, but
Yeah.
which one is the one for you? This
Yeah,
question
one for me.
will be answered today. And with that, welcome to today's video. My name is Danny, and here we talk about travel, health, and mindset. And today we're gonna tackle the question, Thailand or Philippines? We're gonna cover 5 points where I'm gonna give you my experience on traveling to both countries. So my story is basically, my girlfriend Judy and I, we have been traveling for 10 months, and one of the
10
destinations
months?
has been
Such a long
Thailand.
time.
We've been there 3 times. In the Philippines, we have been around 3.5 weeks, almost a month. I think we're gonna start with number 1, culture.
Culture. Okay.
We're gonna do a little bit of a history lesson right now. Don't worry, we're gonna get a lot more practical into a traveler's perspective in just a minute. But for example, Thailand, there you have mostly Buddhism. So what that means for you, if you're into temples, if you wanna see some of the Buddhist culture, that is gonna be Thailand. There are a lot of beautiful temples, statues. And if we talk about food, obviously Thai food is known globally. You have to pad Thai. Overall, the food is spicier. And
spicy,
for me, I burned my tongue a few times. Overall, I really enjoyed it, and I know that a lot of people actually do. Philippines, in the contrary, is a majority Christian country. So there, obviously, you're gonna have a lot of churches, and that actually in the Philippines, all the time we have been driving by, but really cute little churches. Obviously the food is also very much different. The Philippines are known for lechon, so basically there you have like hearty meats. It's not very spicy. It's a completely different kitchen. And when it comes to the language, this is also a big difference. In Thailand, they speak Thai, and in the tourist spots, some of the people can speak some English. Obviously, the tour guides, you're going to be fine. The people are going to understand you, especially because Thailand is very developed in terms of tourism. We're going to get to that in just a second. But in the Philippines, on the contrary, they have different dialects of the Filipino language, but overall, almost everyone speaks English. So that is a huge difference when it comes to just getting by and getting around, but also when it comes to if you're someone who likes to really immerse yourself in the culture and maybe connect with the people and see how they live. In the Philippines, it's a lot easier just because there isn't a language barrier. I mean, if you're speaking English, if you're watching this video, I suppose you do. And also there are, from the colonial times, Spanish influences, so also on buildings and the churches, everything looks very Spanish, which I personally found to be very interesting. So with that, we're gonna get to point number 2, which is nature. Beaches. I would say let's start with Thailand. If I think about Thailand, I think about beaches like Riley Beach. This is known as kind of like the real life Avatar. You have the huge limestones and another example of it is a very touristy place, Koh Phi Phi Island. It is probably one of the most famous party places, but the nature there is absolutely breathtaking. Another example which is quite different is Koh Lanta. This was one of my favorite islands in Thailand, and as you see from the pictures right now, the beaches are very nice. You have some blue
Yeah, very
waters.
nice.
When it comes to the Philippines, and I'm thinking about beaches, one of the first things would be like the small island, Balikasak Island, close to the big Bohol Island.
Oh, I
Another
see.
point would be, for example, the Sikihor Island. And what I gotta honestly say is that in the Philippines, I was really blown away just by how blue the water was sometimes. Also with waterfalls, we have seen waterfalls in the Philippines and in Thailand as well. But I just cannot really grasp on how blue sometimes the waters have been in the Philippines. I haven't found them like that in Thailand yet. I would say in Koh Phi Phi has been the bluest of waters, and I was just completely blown away by that. Often saying everyone like this is crazy, but in the Philippines later on, I found in many places this type of blue waters. So if that is a priority to you so far as I can judge, maybe I've not been to the right places in Thailand, but the Philippines I think are very high up there. And one thing that I'm thinking about right now is what both places kind of like iconically are known for are their boats. The boats are everywhere, and in Thailand you have those kind of like longish boats, while in the Philippines you have these like spider-looking boats, and they have them
Spider-looking
everywhere. And
boat.
whenever you see a travel video, you see these boats because I think in both places you are really gonna find something that you are going to like if you are into beaches and tropical vibes, so to say. Number three would be tourism.
Tourism. Yeah.
I would say Thailand is known for being very developed and in some parts very touristy. And I would say for me, Thailand in many places is great for partying. For example, the Koh Phi Phi Island.
Great
There you
for
have pretty much
partying.
98% tourists. And it's a very small island, you know. And everywhere is party going on. I remember this really cool rooftop bar. I even remember the name of it. I think it was Banana Club or Banana Bar. In the evenings, they show movies for free, which was absolutely amazing. And as far as I know, places for like, for example, Phuket that I have not been to are supposed to be crazy, like
Phuket.
just almost only tourists, almost only Westerners. But not all of
Almost
Thailand
only
is like that. There are
Westerners.
places that are a lot,
Yeah,
lot
that is.
less developed, especially if you're just
That's-
gonna, you know,
that's
just roll it
tourism.
by yourself and look for, let's say, undiscovered, maybe hidden gems. But I would say there are less of them at this point, as in contrary to the Philippines and Bangkok and also Chiang Mai. So in Chiang Mai, for example, you can do elephants. They have a lot of ethical sanctuaries where the elephants are just hanging out. You know, they're having a good time. They're getting stuff to eat and getting washed by people who are paying like, I don't know, $80 to do it. So, and now let's get to the Philippines. I would say in the Philippines, I spent less time than in Thailand, but overall, I had the experience that you had a few more developed and more touristy places where you also have seen a lot of Westerners and also restaurants and then a few opportunities to party, obviously. But if you just go out of these places, I'm thinking right now, for example, in Bohol, you have Lana Beach, and there it is kind of like set up for tourists. We have been living a little bit outside of that in our like cubicle. Airbnb, really cool place. I have a separate video about that as well. And if you just go out of Panglao, like the part of Bohol, and just go up, there's just local life. And I think in the Philippines is, as far as I know, Philippines is one of the youngest nations in the world. The average age is very young. I think it's below 30. So in the Philippines, a huge difference to Thailand for me was that there have been children running on the streets everywhere. I would say in the Philippines is also a bigger
Not
adventure
in
factor.
Thailand?
Even if you're staying one of the more touristy areas, you can just go out there with your motorbike and explore. And I would say in the Philippines, the roads with the coconut trees and some rice paddies that we have seen are just absolutely amazing. I love doing that, and I felt for sure more adventurous because we have been just driving through local villages where people have been going about their life. People are overall, as far as I perceive them, are pretty peaceful, are pretty open-minded, and as I mentioned before, they speak English, so it's a lot easier to kind of be part of it, get maybe into a chat, or if you just want to eat something in a restaurant and it's not a touristy place like when in Thailand, if it's not a tourist development, the people are not really gonna understand you, which is a challenge, which can be fun, but it's obviously a lot more challenging to get kind of like a connection to the culture and the people. Number four would be prices. I would say it's pretty similar, but just because
Prices.
once again everything is leading up to Thailand and its further development and huge tourism sector. Thailand is definitely a little bit more expensive, especially when it comes to the before mentioned going out, partying, restaurant scene, alcohol, especially in the Philippines. The San Miguel Light has been my favorite drink. I think it costed around $1 or something. The food has been also definitely a little bit cheaper. I would say like 15 to 20%. And the last thing would be getting around, and this is a pretty big difference. You have thousands of islands. I think they have 7,500 so many islands. And while with many you can take boats, which is very easy and affordable, like around $10 or even less. You can jump on a boat from, for example, the Cebu Island, go to Bohol, go from Cebu to Siquijor. It's pretty easy, but if you want to get into another area of the Philippines, you have to usually fly. In Thailand, on the contrary, for example, we have been going from Bangkok to Koh Samui with a night train. It has been also very affordable.
Night train.
It has been actually quite long, but it has been an overnight train. It has been fun. So this is just, I would say,
This is a very interesting
and in a lot
way
of
to
cases
ride
in the
on a train.
Philippines, if you want to see many areas, you're quite necessarily going to need to fly. And as a conclusion for today's video, I would
yes,
say
conclusion.
definitely both places are obviously worth traveling to. There is a reason behind the madness of Thailand, why everybody is going there at the moment. But while I think Philippines is already a popular destination, for a lot of people it's not really on the map. So this is my conclusion for
Yes,
both places.
yes. So
I might
what's
end
your
up in
conclusion?
both places within the next year. We'll see where the plans are going to lead me. Philippines so far is on the map, maybe even for already this year. So if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And right now I'm doing a travel guide series where I cover a lot of the countries that I've been traveling to. The last few videos have been about the Philippines, so if you want to see more about that, check it out. If you're still here, if you watched until the end, which I know not everyone does, put into the comments, I got a world to see. And I really appreciate that.
Okay,
See you in the next one.
okay, I understand. You concluded that the Philippines. Yes, me too, because I never been to Thailand, so I can't compare. But I love Philippines, so that's why I'm doing reaction video for Filipinos. Yeah, but I definitely need to go and watch what's going on in Thailand because yeah, I want to experience that. Okay, today's video is it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, push notification bell to not to miss my future videos. If you like the video, please share it to your friends and family members. And please leave comments below. I want to watch your comments. Thanks for watching. See you again. Bye bye. Salam up.